Hi YouTubers, this is me again, as you all know. Um, Basically what this video is going to be about something called Living with the Seasons. I found the topic from another video off of Bespoke UK, I believe is what his name of his title of his YouTube channel is. It's a term that's found in the UK that he just found interesting and decided to talk about. And I find it very interesting, and he's like, in his comments, he's asking, what does living with the seasons mean to you, basically. And that's basically what this video is going to be about. I don't know if anybody's interested in this, but it's what I'm interested in. That's where I found the video. And I'm going to put a link to his site in the show notes or the comments section or the description of this video. So that's what it's going to be about. Okay, so the bulk of this video is going to be about that. So, living with the seasons, what it means to me. Well, he said in his video, his description of it, and it pretty much parallels what my version of it is. He was saying that when he was living the pagan lifestyle, that's what a big cliche phrase was, oh, let's live with the seasons. And it was kind of a lot of people took it as a blasé kind of general term that applied to everybody that was working in the pagan network, and that only pagans live with the seasons. That's kind of a cliche term for pagans and things like that. But I'm thinking, and he was thinking as well, that really everybody really does live with the seasons in their own way. Like for me personally, during certain times of year, there's certain things that I do, such as during solstices, during times of celebration during the year. I'd make certain foods for my family, honoring my ancestors through bringing traditions that I've been doing with my family for years and bringing them into the present. I do certain things on certain times of year, such as during Christmas or Yule. What I would do is I would make my mom's apple salad or my mom's apple pie for my friends, or when we gather together to either exchange gifts or just to be together during that time of year. Or during Samhain or Halloween, I would get dressed up and go trick-or-treating, or even take my nieces trick-or-treating at other people's houses during that time of year. I wouldn't do that during January, because that would be silly, because it's not that time yet. It's not that season yet. Or even when, I don't know, when certain things are done during certain times of the year, or just certain times of life even. You don't plan for your retirement when you're, well, you plan for your retirement when you're young, and you get ready for it when you're young and when you're older and stuff like that. And during certain times of life, you do certain things, like you put a certain amount of money away when you're younger, you put a larger amount of money away when you're younger, and when you get older, that money that you're putting away kind of gets smaller, a little bit smaller, because as you're getting closer to your retirement age. And the least amount of money you put away at each time is during probably when 6 years before you retire. And once you retire, you stop putting away money for your retirement because you're in your retirement. That's the closest parallel I can think of. But and even simple things like going to the grocery store, certain things aren't available at certain times of year, and certain things are cheaper at certain times of year because they are available more readily, like strawberries. I believe they're a fall fruit, I think. I'm not really aware, but they're usually cheapest during the fall or even the end of summer, because that is when they're available naturally. So that's when they're cheapest. During the winter or during the early spring, that's when they're the most expensive because they have to be shipped in from other countries. So people that are buying strawberries during the winter time or the springtime, they're not necessarily living with the people who would buy things when they're cheapest, which is more economical anyway. When they're buying them in the summer or the fall, when they're cheapest, they're living with the seasons because they're buying things when they're appropriately available. Or even something he mentioned was changing clothes during the seasons. That's another way to be living with the seasons. It's not just necessarily pagan and the celebrations during the pagan rites or anything like that. That's not necessarily living with living living with the seasons necessarily, because I know that in my church it's a certain date, no matter where it ends up being. It's that date is the season, and it's kind of stuck to that date. Whereas if you were living with the seasons in your personal practice, this is just a public practice. They keep it together so that it's nationally keeps it synchronicity. But in my personal practice, I prefer to wait and say, okay, when does the actual solstice show up? Like, when is the longest day of the year? Then I would celebrate it in my personal practice that way. And that would be another way of living with the seasons as well. And among other things, if you have cats or any type of pets that have fleece things, it's certain times of year that you mostly use the flea stuff or the flea chemicals to keep your pets safe from the fleas, because during certain seasons fleas are more prominent than others. They don't disappear, but they're more prominent during these seasons. It's little things like that you don't really acknowledge consciously, that you're really living with the seasons, or acknowledging the seasons in your own way. But that's one thing about my path that I like, that you can take things such that most people or some people wouldn't associate with the seasons, and it's very personal, and you would personally associate within that season and live the seasons that way through different things that some people wouldn't think of changing your clothes for the seasons as living with the seasons. Like, okay, during the summer I wear certain things. I have to put those away during the winter because they're flippin' cold. I know that in California don't get as cold as most places, but still, there's some things in summer you can't wear during the winter, and vice versa. You can't wear certain things during the winter that you would wear during summer. They would call you insane. But so you might have a tradition of putting away your summer and winter clothes at a certain time, and it depends on what the weather's like, how the seasons are changing when you do that. It's not necessarily a set date. It doesn't depend on the date. It depends on the weather or how it is at this very moment, and it's a very mindful practice. So mindfulness and living with the seasons are very intertwined. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I got to ramble. Yay. Okay. Okay, and then so that was pretty much my take on living with the seasons. I'm gonna post this tomorrow, I think. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. Okay. So leave your comments down at the bottom. I'd love to hear what you think of the term living with the seasons. And he will post on his video as well. He's asking for comments as well. I just thought it was interesting and thought I'd put my take on it. So, living with the seasons. What do you think it is, and how do you do that? How do you promote that or bring that into your personal life? Okay. Alright, well, I'll talk to you later, and thanks for watching. See you later, all you 11 people.